Welcome to Rest Late Period. Today we're going to show you how to do a sugar roll. Now this is to monitor your hives for varroa mites. It's one of the non-lethal ways of monitoring non-lethal as in it's not going to kill your bees to do. And we're going to go through every step of the way on how to do a proper sugar roll and how to do your calculations. For the last couple of years we've been participating in the Bee Informed Partnership survey for providing our results for how many mites our hives have. And this year we decided, hey, let's make a video to show beginner beekeepers how to do a sugar roll. And let me give you a little background on our technique. During the summer we inspect our hives every 2 weeks. One inspection will be a thorough inspection, while the next will be a quick inspection coupled with a sugar roll for monitoring. And let's get to the video. I hope you enjoy, and remember, follow us on our social media. Before we head out to the hive, you're going to need some equipment for the sugar roll. Make sure you have powdered sugar, a half cup measuring cup, a container with a white bottom. As you can see here, we made a working mistake. We picked a container. It was a little dirty on the bottom, but if you clean it out real good so that there's no spots, then you'll have no problem seeing the varroa. Next thing you'll need is a sugar roll jar. That's basically a jar with a mesh top so that the bees cannot come out, and then you just put the ring to the mason jar on. We also marked out the half cup line with blue painter's tape. So if we see bees above that after we knock them down, we know we have a little too much. And then you'll need some water. Here we use a mason jar with some holes in the lid. Using a spray bottle is fine. And then last but not least, a buddy, somebody to help you get through this if it's your first time. Now we have all our equipment out, and we have all our protective clothing on, because if you consider the time of year, it's fall right now, and the bees are preparing to go into winter. That being said, anybody that's trying to get into the hive is a potential invader, predator, whatever you want to call it. But in the bees' mind, they're going, we're not going to have a chance to gather more nectar, and we're trying to ramp up so that we can stay in the hive for a couple months. You'll see we have a lot of bees in there all starting to form a little cloud. That's just them checking out, seeing what we're doing, because if we are the invaders, they want to try and repel us. You'll see every once in a while, Lisa will move quicker, and the bees will come directly at her. This is the time to just get into the hive, do what you have to do, and get out. You'll notice I didn't use any smoke. And if you're asking yourself why, we don't want the bees running all over the frame trying to get away from the smoke. We want the nurse bees to stay and tend to the larva. You'll see we pulled out a couple of frames so far, and what we're looking for is a frame that has bee bred and brood. The goal is to find nurse bees. They tend the larva, as the larva need to be fed. If your hive has varroa, the nurse bee will be the most likely emerge bee to have the parasite attached to it. And what the varroa will do is feed off the nurse bee, and then as the nurse bee is tending the larva, sometimes those parasites will fall off into the cell that has the larva. They'll start reproducing on the underside of the larva in the food, and as they do that, we double our varroa population that's in there. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So when we do the sugar shake, we're going to count how many mites we have in a hive. The threshold right now is around 3%. Most of our hives will stay within the 1 to 3%. Most of the trouble we come across is when we have a consistent 1%, 1%, and then boom, we're at 8% or 5%. And that tells us that the varroa are migrating into our hive, and what we want to do at that point is start treatment. And you don't want to get to that point. You want to leave your percentage between 1 and 3. And things you can do to keep it that way are doing splits throughout your beekeeping season. Drone trapping, you'll see every once in a while we have a green frame. It has a perforated surface that's just like the same size as drone comb. So when you go pull it out, they pull out drone comb. There'll be no worker comb on there at all. And then you let the queen lay in that, you let it get captive, you take it all out, you feed it to your chickens or put it in the freezer and then put it right back in the hive. Other things you can do is just trapping your queen in the hive. You do this for about 5 days. That stops her from laying for 5 days, let go for a week, trap her again 5 days, rinse and repeat. Your population won't get as high as you like, but it'll keep the varroa population down. So what do you do if you're at 4% or more? You have a couple of treatment options, and these are non-natural, they're chemical. And that's going to be My Way Quick Strips. We are going to use those in our next video. You got HopGuard 2, AppyLife, which is a thymol chemical, AppyGuard, also main ingredients thymol, AppyVar, AppyStan, and oxalic acid. Now a lot of folks are using oxalic acid nowadays, and that's fine as long as you remember to rotate your treatments. So if you use oxalic acid this time, next time use AppyVar or My Way Quick Strips. That way the varroa don't develop a resistance to your treatments, because we all need to work together to mitigate the varroa infestation. So if you are taking care of business and your beekeeper down the road is not, then you're in danger of those hives that your beekeeper down the road has. Those bees could intermingle with yours, and now varroa are hopping over to your bees. So we want to educate everybody and get them on the right path. As I was putting this frame back into the hive, I noticed that there was a queen cell, so I pulled it back out, and I want to check into it just to make sure that it is a queen cell. It turns into a supersedure or swarm cell whenever the queen lays an egg in there, and the bees start feeding that egg. So that's something you want to look into as a beginner. Now let's talk about what's going on in the picture here. We have Lisa checking the frame, and I'm checking the frame. And what she's doing is she's finding the frames that have open larva and a little bit of cap brood, and then she'll hand it to me. And what I'm doing is I'm just checking for a queen. I'm looking all over the place, making sure that we're not going to stick a queen into our sugar roll jar and then potentially injure her in any way. And if I find a frame that I also agree has enough open larva and no queen, I'll hand it back to her, and she'll put it into a nuke box that's off to the side by itself. We call it a quiet box. That way the bees have a place to sit and rest. This kind of calms the bees down a little bit. That way they're not trying to fly away or run around the frame where we can't see the queen, because we will do another check because we're super nervous. Here you'll see Lisa pick up the jar, and she's pointing at the line that's already imprinted on the jar for half a cup. So in a minute, she's going to demonstrate how to get the bees into the jar and keep them there. Right now I'm double checking and triple checking to make sure there's no queen. And this is a good chance to point out teamwork. You really want to have a stress-free environment, especially when you're surrounded by bees like this. And if this is your first or second time doing it, it's good to have a teammate to help you out, somebody that can remind you. So if you're forgetting something, they can step in and say, wait a second, or they can triple check the frame for you to make sure that you're not about to make this hive queenless. As you're watching, you'll see Lisa's demonstrating an excellent way of checking the frame. She has her back to the sun. The only shadow you'll see is the veil occasionally, and she used the book method to flip the frame. If you have plastic foundation, you pretty much don't have to do that. You can flip the frame right over, but we have foundationless, as you can see right through the bottom edge of the frame there, and we're going to use the book method every time. When you have the jar, you're going to go ahead and place it at the top of the frame, and you're going to just drag down and then drag down again. When you're dragging down, ensure that the jar is about 3/8 of an inch away from touching the wax. You don't want to damage the wax, and you don't want to roll the bees over. It's more like tapping the bees gently. This will cause the bees to do backflips into the jars, and the forager bees will fly out of the jars. However, the nurse bees who's not orientated to where the hive is, they will just fall and stay in the bottom of the jar. They may try and climb out, but they will not fly out. And this is the part that's really useful to have a partner. She'll just hand me the frame. I'm going to grab that beautiful frame of brood and go put it back into the hive. I can start reassembling the hive as she gets the bees knocked to the bottom and then puts the lid on that has the screen. Now she's pointing to show the level of where the bees are. And as a beginner, you can tell it's pretty difficult, but you're guesstimating the bees that are staying down. Those are your nurse bees, and they should be at half a cup. Now you'll see she walks behind the hive. There's a little bit of shade back there. She's going to place the jar back in that area. While I'm putting that frame back, I'll take a frame from our little nuke that we have sitting there, the quiet box, and I'm going to stick that back. It's all back in the same order. She's going to show you how to put the sugar in. So you got a couple different ways. If the bees in the jar bothering you a lot, just put the sugar on top of the screen and just push it in, slightly pulling on your tool, but push it in through the screen, and then you're going to roll the bees so that the sugar gets on all the bees, gets all over them, and that's going to cause the bees to clean themselves off. And now she's going to put it over in the shade for about 2 to 3 minutes while the bees clean each other off, and this gives them a chance to, recover from the shock of, having sugar dropping on you and then being rolled like you're on a roller coaster. So they're a little shook up right now, and so we just put them right in the shade. It keeps them nice and cool, and then they're going to calm down. Now that you did that, we're going to go ahead and focus on the hive. We're going to make sure we're putting all the frames back correctly so that they don't pull out wax further than we like. We want to maintain that 3 inch between each of the frames. And if the bees pull the wax out further than that, then we have these weird bump outs is what I call them. So when I go pull out the frame, it gets caught on the other frame. You don't want that. You want all of the shoulders of your frames pushed up against each other. Now typically what we do is when you have a bunch of bees like that, use some smoke, you get them off the edges. Right now she's just going to use the brush, the bee brush, and then she's going to help me guide the box in. And a couple of the bees were crushed because she did say, oh, it smells like bananas. And you can tell in the video there's a bunch of bees over on her side. There's some on mine, but they're not really bothering me as much as her. They basically shot out and started hitting her in the belly, because that's right at the hive box level. We're going to go ahead and put the entire hive back together all the way up to the cinder block, just like it's never been touched. And that gives the bees a chance to get settled again. If you leave the hive open the entire time, then the bees consistently think that there's something strange going on and that needs to be investigated. Now let's take a closer look at the jar that we put sugar in. We got our 1/2 cup of bees, so half cup. And of course, if you're looking at the jar immediately, you're just going, oh my gosh, they're trying to get out of there. They're crawling all over each other, anything to be up now. But how many do you see flying? Now the sugar will knock them down. There's a couple attached to the top there, but sugar will knock them down. And then once they calm down, they start cleaning each other off. And this starts knocking off the varroa. It's not exactly the sugar that's knocking it off. Here we just want to spend some time watching the bees, seeing what they're doing in the jar. And that 2 to 5 minutes, you can wait longer and just let them really settle down. And this I thought was just creative shot, but this is essentially what you want your mic levels to do, and that's plummet. In the next step of the video, you're going to see Lisa with her phone in her hands right next to the mason jar shaking vigorously. And we wanted to show you what app we're using. It's called Mic Check. It's by Be Informed Partnership. And what this does is takes you step by step through how to do a sugar roll. It tells you what you need, it tells you what you're looking for frames, and it explains why you're looking for those particular items on the frames. It then steps you through how to get the beads off the frame. If you want to use this method of just knocking the beads into a container and then pouring them into your mason jar, you can. But this is essentially the steps we use where you just pull down with a mason jar and get them in. Shows you how to put your sugar in, roll the beads, and then let the beads sit for a little bit, and it starts the timer for you. And then you put the colony back together, and then start shake trainer now, or start the timer. That's what we're really looking for. It's going to start a 2-minute clock for you, and you're just going to shake and shake and shake. But it's not just a timer. It uses your phone, and it will tell you if you're shaking hard enough or not. And this is what it sounds like as she's shaking.
Shake harder. Good job. That's good. Shake harder. Great job. Shake harder.
And it will continue to do that until the timer has expired, and just keep you pretty consistent on how you're shaking. Now let's look at it in real time as she goes to do the hard job of shaking for a minute. Now this might look like an easy step, but it's really not. You have to stay pretty consistent, shake really hard. Keep in mind, the black dots that are falling onto the pollen tray here are the Varroa. And you will see that we changed out our tray so that we have a better, easier surface to see the Varroa. And I turned on the sound so you can hear how the beads are just being jostled in there by the shaking.
I can't shake any harder.
I think yours has always said shake harder. Yeah, you want to show these real quick? Perfect. Right there? Yep. Okay, nice and clean. So we're going to go put them under a tree for a couple minutes. Looking cool. She did a really good job keeping the shake consistent, and her phone has always said shake harder. I've shaken it before, and it doesn't make a difference. So here's a view of a Varroa. This is what your eye's going to see if you get pretty close. In a minute here, we're going to show you a really close up of a Varroa and what she's doing when covered in sugar. But first, I'm going to show you a common mistake when looking for Varroa. If you look at this little guy, it's actually pollen. The water has diluted it a little bit, and with the naked eye, I thought in my first year that this was a Varroa, and I counted all of these little pollen bits when I didn't need to. So make sure you have a nice clean background. So identifying the Varroa is pretty easy. The next thing that we have is in our bucket is a magnifying glass, and that will definitely help spend $1 or $2 and get one. So our next step after we shake all the sugar out of the jar is we're going to use our spray bottle or some way of wetting down the sugar to dissolve the sugar so we can then count the amount of mites. You want to make sure you dissolve the sugar really well. And warm water, cold water, doesn't really matter. Sugar's going to dissolve it. Get every little bit wherever you see a Varroa, just spray it real quick just to ensure that that's what it is. Now what we counted here was about 25 mites. That means that out of 300 bees, we had 25 mites. What we're going to do then is divide 25 by 3, and we're going to get 8. And that's the percentage for this side, 8%. This is what we currently use. It's a macro camera that clips to your cell phone. Really helps with social media. I can just clip it to my cell phone and take a close up like this one. And now adding that to my cell phone, this is what you see. It gets close enough where you can tell the Varroa has 8 legs. And right now what it's doing is it's hoping that something walks by so I can just grab onto it. No, I can't tell if that's a Varroa that I'm looking at or just the breed that doesn't plant.
This one here is kind of by itself. There's not a lot
Leave your finger there. It's just definitely inflated, so. It's worth noting the last Varroa I showed was clinging onto a piece of sugar, whereas the rest of these are all flipped over. That's why I was saying it's trying to grab onto anything that it can find. And that's how parasites find themselves on bees and end up not. I think it's so sick with that.
Thanks for watching our sugar video. If you have any comments or questions, let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe for videos if you want to see more of them.
What are we going to do with these?
We're going to pour them into the hive, so the rest of these, we put them on.
So, would we pour them in front of the hive?
No, because they're nurseries, they're not going to fly.
And they've never orientated, right?
Correct.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Hold on.